Hello, my name is Veronica and welcome in. I was tagged by Margaret over at Margaret's Craft and she wanted me to share with you my top 20 items for 2011. And you're here with Mickey and me today. I'm going to start out with my steaming cup of coffee. This helps to get my juices flowing and get me ready to create. So if you're ready, I'd like to share with you those items that I reach for most when I'm crafting. So prior to sitting down, I will generally grab one of my craft mats. I have this larger one, which I love for a bigger surface. If I'm doing something a bit smaller, I do like using this one. And I've been known to even take my mouse pad, put that inside of a Ziploc bag, and use that to stamp on when I'm using my acrylic stamp. So now moving on to paper. If I can help it, I will never be without some good white cardstock paper. I know there are a lot of them on the market, but this one I can get locally at Office Depot or at Michael's using a coupon. And so when you see me start out with a white piece of paper and change it, this is the cardstock that I've used. I also tend to use a lot of watercolor paper because I am into my inks and paints. Last time I was in the store, this was on sale. Works for me. It's student quality grade, but you know, I'm fine with that. And this is the watercolor paper I used when I made my little falling into fall cards. Additionally, for paper, I love using glossy paper. Heather at the Paper Castle picked this up for me at the Ranger warehouse sale last year. And although this is scored for cards, I'll generally just cut it and that's what I'll use on my cards. Works beautifully with alcohol inks, my Big and Juicy, and also for using my brayer. Starting with Fancy Pants. I love this line. Now if you were over at peachycheap.com this morning, then you probably picked up the 6x6 deal that they had. It was really good, and if you haven't, it might still be available. But I got this from a daily deal site. They were clearing out some of their fancy pants. I took advantage of it and just picked up an entire set. Also on my list is Basic Gray. It's just something about this that I love. And this one is their Green at Heart collection. I've only met one or two Basic Gray sets that I didn't absolutely love. And but for the most part, I love everything they come out with. This one is Ambrosia. These colors just remind me of the Mediterranean. I don't know. I love it. This is Obscure. This one, which I thought was very cute, is called Hello Luscious. And it is just, it's darling. Of course, one of my all-time faves is Lime Ricky. I think I wound up getting two of this because I just love the colors so much and they work perfectly for my son. Back to Fancy Pants again. If you've been following my Halloween layouts, I'm trying to use up everything I have. Now the one pack I don't have up here that I really love and adore is Echo Park. I have one of their springtimes and their Halloween one and a Christmas one, but I've used up almost all of it, so I didn't have anything to really show. Now this one is from GCD, and I don't know if they're still making paper or not, but I have quite a few of theirs, and this one is called Spring All Over, and just look at that. Doesn't that remind you of Fancy Pants and Basic Gray, the happiness of Echo Park? Yep, that's why I love it. But these I go for almost every time. So let's talk adhesives. Lots of them out there on the market. Score tape. I won a contest and part of my prize was the score tape, and she sent them to me in a lot of different widths, and I have so totally fallen in love with it, and now I will never be without score tape again, if I can help it. But now these Wacky Tack dots, Wacky Tack was a company that came out with these, and I guess King Company bought them out because there were some other Wacky Tack tabs that I love. They're no longer to be found, but these are the small dots, and I really like using those. They're clear. In addition, I like these 3D dots from EK Success. They add quite a bit of heft and dimension, so if you really want it to pop up, these are the way to go. Three more things you will never find me without. One is my glossy accents. I have it in glossy, and then I also have it in matte. I use the matte a lot for the glue. I use this for glue, but I really like putting it on things to make them shine. I will also not be without my Scotch Quick Dry adhesive. I have at least 3 bottles of these on hand at all times. Now, one other thing that a lot of people may use or may not use, and it's this quickie glue pen. This thing is fantastic, and it's a pen and it lays down the finest bead of glue that you ever wanted to see. So for my adhesives, that along with my ATG gun always stay at the ready. So let's talk inks. This is Ranger's newest configuration of inks, and these are dye-based pads. I picked up this red, pepper, and pitch black because I just thought they were fantastic. But I have almost every color of ink that Ranger has ever made in their line. Now, when I'm stamping and I'm coloring, I go for this waterproof ink. Any good waterproof ink that you find would work, especially if you're going to be using your water pen or paintbrushes and coloring it. You don't want that ink running. You wouldn't want to use Memento for that because it'll just all run together. But you would not want to use this with your Copic markers. Now, you know, distress inks. Everybody's got to own some of these, and I do. Almost all of them. Use them with my semi-homemade ink applicator, always at my elbow. If I'm doing a color and I just want a clear embossing, some work better than others. This one's not my favorite, but I have a huge jar of it, so I make it work. And when it comes to embossing in white, I use this one from Inkadikadoo. It's a linen white, and I think I have 3 or 4 containers of these that I just poured up into one container. And so I use this one. It's not, I don't think it's as good as the purple one that I had, but I fried my purple one, and I've got to tell you, it was totally user error, but I do use my embossing gun quite a bit. Now, when it comes to adding a little bit of glitz and sparkle, let's talk about glamour, glam, and bling. The Martha Stewart glitters are good. I own lots of them. I've purchased tubs of them. I think I have about 40 containers of them. These little fine micro beads, they're the best. They add such nice dimension without overwhelming your page. When I want to add some additional sparkle, I reach for my Glimmer Mist. And this one, out of all the colors they make, is my absolute favorite. And this one is Glacier. As you can see, I have just a tad left, so I need to find a new bottle of this. And for some added bling, I've fallen in love with the faux pearls. I've gotten a lot of the Recollections ones. I have tons from Queen & Company, American Crafts, you name it. Whoever's made bling, I've picked them up. I mean, what girl has too much bling? Tell me her name and I'll have her send some of it to me. Okay, on to stamps. Now when it comes to stamps, you're calling my name. This is just a set. They're the acrylic ones that I like, and while I'm here at this moment, let me go ahead and pull in my acrylic blocks that I use. I try to get as many different sizes as I can to fully accommodate the stamp that I'm going to use, but I've got to tell you, my all-time favorite is this one, and it came from hot off the press. I like the heft of it, the weight of it. It's nice and chunky. It accommodates my stamps beautifully. This is a must-have. Now, I gotta admit, I'm a stamp snob. I love rubber stamps. There are just some things I can do with these that I can't do with the acrylic stamp. I can't explain it. So I have fallen in love with the clings. These are good. And so with that, I will use my bigger block, or that's when I'll pull out my stamp press. Now, my first love, my first go-to are these rubber babies. Gotta have them. When I'm getting stamps, I look at them to try to see what can I do with them. How can I use them, and can I use them in a lot of different ways? So if I see these and they have a good saying on it, I will pick them up. So always at the ready is a good collection of rubber stamps. Now exactly where would I be without my Spellbinder dies? I really don't know how I existed before these, because these things are just terrific. And to help me with that, I have some of my red rubber gasket, so that when I'm trying to cut something, if I need to stop that die from going any further than it does, I can put that down and it's only going to cut up to that point. So I have lots of that cut in different sizes. I actually put the inches on the back, and because I use it a lot, it made the video cut. So to make the Spellbinders work, I need a die cutting machine or something. I do have a Cuttlebug, and recently became the proud owner of a Grand Caliber that is still in the box. But I love my folders. I love adding texture. I love inking them, doing all kinds of fun things with them. So a nice selection of embossing folders is a must. So when I'm not inking with those, I'm using my templates. I also have some of the Tattered Angels ones, and just to use these with my Distress ink applicators and to get that ink all in there in the paint, this is also another must-have. Now when I'm getting totally inky by pulling out some of my acrylic paints or using some colored pencils, and one of my newest acquisitions has been these metallic acrylic colors. They're the coolest thing. So all of these are like a watercolor base, but they have a metallic sheen to it. Absolutely gorgeous. In addition to that, you need a good set of brushes to use. Student grade will be fine unless you are particular. You can go and pay a higher price, but I also find myself reaching for this more than anything else, and it's my water pen. I have all the sizes that have been made. Of course, you can get more expensive water pens. There are some great ones out there on the market. I find that these work for me. Another must-have in the stash. I think I own more cutters than the law allows. But from Tonic, I have the big one, and I also have this one. This is great for when I want to cut just little small pieces of paper. I gotta tell you, I do love the guillotine. Now, when I'm not using that, I love these little Fiskars scissors. I have the cutter beads and everything that they make. But when I borrowed Willow from a friend, and this was the beautiful card that she sent to me, a bunch of us said, hey, can we borrow that image? So she sent it out. And so what did I do? I sat and I stamped Willow until, as we love to say, I stamped the rubber off the girl. Also put her onto some watercolor paper so I can go back and play with her. But when it came time to cut out all the dresses, I used these scissors and was able to get around there easy peasy. But then when I wanted to go in and remove this little inside, I needed my knife. So you can use either this fingertip knife, you gotta have one, or you can use one of these. It just depends on which one you're most comfortable cutting with. I do have to bring this up because I use my Helix translucent cutting mat all the time. It fits beautifully into my Score Pal, which is another staple in my craft room. Don't know how I made it this long without before I owned one, but I also know that I don't want to be without one again. Visiting my Sakura pens. I have about 3 trays of these, all with different kinds of pens in them. My classic white and black is a staple in all of them. I think I have just about, all of them. So there you go. And I do keep them separated by what they are. As you can see, I purchased these 5 dark metallic ones, and I haven't opened them and put them away yet. So I just stuck them in this container for the time being. But can't be without my Sakura pens. You've been waiting. When's she gonna do it? I'm gonna wrap this up with my punches. Punches, punches, punches. You can't own too many. I love the Martha Stewart ones. I love the Fiskars. I love the EK Success. Recently, my Joann's was clearing theirs out, I think, to make room for the new set, but they had a bunch of them for $2.97. All the racks were cleared. I barely got this one. I also picked up this corner one. It was $3.97, and this one was $1.97. None of them were above $2.97 when I was there, but at mine they're all gone. And I also love the squeeze punches. This one is a little hummingbird that I picked up. These are all items that I have to craft with. Thank you, Margaret, for tagging me. I am now going to tag Heather at the Paper Castle, Laura at Scrap Addict for Life, and Sari at the North Sioux Girl. Ladies, tag, you're it. Until then.